Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Mindshare podcast. This show is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems and REM Real Estate Magazine. Learn more about our sponsors by visiting my site, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of my book, The Ultimate Marketing Bundle, as well as learn more about our one-to-one coaching and keynote speaking. Today's episode is number 256. She's a Niagara-based realtor who's been in the business since 2010, working with clients on their individual homes as well as with builders on major condo projects. She knows what it takes to manage expectations and get deals done. No fear of social media or getting on video, she leverages the right marketing to connect with the right people. And she has significantly improved her productivity and time management with consistency and determination. Joining me on this episode of the Mindshare podcast is realtor Lily Ruggi. Lily, welcome to the Mindshare podcast.
Thank you, David. You make me sound so great. Thank you.
Hey, listen, I'm reading the bio that you guys provided to us.
Well, I think you made it sound much better. Thank you.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. I'm glad we got some of the little technical difficulties out of the way. I know sometimes when we're live, it is difficult. The camera stream and the sound sometimes can be a little bit off. But I'm excited to dig in with you today.
Let's do it.
Cool. Well, here we put a title to this show today, and I think what's going to happen here is as we're working through this one. As everybody's listening in, to understand why we titled it what we did. But we went ahead and said, achieving goals, how to be more efficient and deliberate with your time. And I just want to kind of open that up for a moment and say, right now, and this is for everybody tuned in, but right now is that moment in time where it is about goal setting. It is about business planning. It is that moment in our world where if we're not planning for what tomorrow looks like, and it could be tomorrow. It could be the hypothetical tomorrow. But if we're not planning for what that looks like, we actually can't get there. And I'll share this with you. I had somebody ask me a question the other day. And I won't get into the details of it, but I ended up going back and saying, what is your ultimate goal? And what do you actually see yourself doing? And he kind of didn't answer that straight. And then we got on a phone call and he started talking and then he started rambling. And then I stopped him and I'm like, no. I asked you two questions very specifically. And he kind of gave me this really a couple word answer to, what it really meant to him. And I said, no, that's not going deep enough. And quite frankly, you got 0 action steps. So you're never going to be able to bring it to life. Now I come back to this and Lily, you understand this, but to everybody else tuned in, when we talk about achieving goals, we need to figure out how we're going to leverage time to make that happen. So I guess I'll turn that to you. And I know over the time of spending a lot of time together and having these conversations, we've talked a lot about, time and efficiencies and being deliberate. What does it mean to you at this moment right now when we say that?
I can tell you about a year ago, and this was before you and I started our coaching relationship. I had a lot of things on the go and a lot of projects, and my project list was pages long, and it consisted of personal, it consisted of business, consisted of goals that I wanted to reach, projects that were in the books, but not just the last 3 months. These are projects that were going on for a long time. And I know many of the conversations I had was, how do I get this done? There's only 24 hours in the day, and everybody has 24 hours. And there's some people that are just like yourself, seem to get a lot more done in those 24 hours. A lot of our conversations began with, I hear it in my sleep, I think, time management. So it ends with my calendar. And although I consider myself to be really, really quite organized, when you have a lot of things to do, whether it be personal, business, wearing a lot of different hats, which even if you're not a realtor, you're doing just life, right? It's hard to keep it all together. So if you have something that you want to get done, it may not get done in the week or the day or the month that you think, because everything else comes up. Didn't have time or didn't get to it, or I was busy. I can give you 500 excuses if you're looking for them. dumb. But if you really, really want to get something done, you have to schedule it. Some people just schedule it in their own minds. So, I mean, I have family members that are not calendar driven. I think I drive them crazy with calendar events that they're like, I don't look at that. I just put it in my mind or whatever. And I'm like, that's great. Like, if you can remember like that, that's great. Everybody's different. Myself, I put simple tasks like a podcast in my calendar because I am calendar driven. So the simplest things have to be in that calendar. Who I'm going to call, what time I'm going to call. When it pops up, I know this is what I need to be doing. Bigger projects we've talked about as well. Mm-hmm. There have been projects I've had for months. I don't even want to say maybe years that I'm embarrassed to say that just never got done because every time I thought about it, they were so huge. I just don't have time or whatever one of my 500 excuses was. So what I've learned is that project is never going to get done because there's 10, 12, 14, sometimes there's 14 moving parts to this. If you don't isolate each part and schedule an hour to get part one done, and then almost look at a timeline. If I want this done in the next month or the next 3 months, what's it going to take for this to get done? And you have to schedule those pieces individually. If you don't chunk down those big projects, they're just going to be, if you're like me, I do lists and I have calendars. They just, you take it from one list and you add it to another one. And it's really defeating. It's a very defeating feeling when you're doing that because you feel like you're not getting anything done. So chunking it down the big problems and just getting it into your calendar when it comes up, got to do it. Got to do it. That's what it rolls down to.
So I work with a lot of people, and I know that there's, it's human nature to go, one, I'm going to create all these lists of things I need to get done. Two, I'm not going to schedule anything because, quite frankly, I don't work like that. However, I guess the question I kind of look at is I go, if I'm one of those people, and evidently you seemed like one of those people at first, right? And you just sort of said it, but it's, we've got all these lists. It's like, how do I bring it to life? And now you said, okay, I put it in my calendar. I chunk it down and I put it in my calendar. And again, I fully understand what you're saying there. Take me a little bit further, maybe maybe an example. If it was like you wanted to get this done, but you knew it would take more time, you were procrastinating like crazy. What was, I guess, maybe the first step? Was it just to break it down? Was it just to put it in your schedule? What did you do that started to make the light bulb go off?
I think that I realized fairly quickly that a lot of the bigger projects, even though I considered them to be important, were just not getting done because they were so overwhelming. I couldn't imagine spending a day or 2 days from start to finish. And I think part of the problem was not identifying the different pieces of it. I don't know what needs to get done. I won't know until I get started. But you have to get started. And if it always seems like such an overwhelming task, you are never going to start. So I think the first part is literally, and again, people work different. People do stuff in their minds. I write stuff down or, check it out, whatever. But I think the first step is whatever the project is identifying the different things you need to do and trying to estimate the time. I mean, it's hard because I'm telling you, sometimes when I think it's going to take an hour, it actually takes 4, which is frustrating, especially with some of the technology that's out there. I get caught up in stuff and then it's like, oh, well, that took 4 hours. And then you kind of feel like, well, that took too long. So maybe the next part's going to be too long, right? But then you need to ask yourself, are you going above and beyond what you're supposed to be doing? Because I do get caught in the, oh, look, maybe I could do that too. Or, oh, maybe I can add this, which delays the project. So I think you have to have really clear, defined goals of what you want. It's great to have the shiny object and bring in the AI and do this and do that. And would it be great if I got that done? And so there you get to the 2-3 hours where you budgeted maybe an hour. So I think it's being realistic as to what you're looking for, bringing down the steps. I'm trying to think of a project. I mean, I have a million going on, but yesterday I showed the number of homes and worked 2 offers and had a lot of things going on in between. So how do you keep it straight? Literally one thing at a time, right?
So
you get overwhelmed.
If you went back to just over a year ago and said you had properties to show yesterday, you had 2 offers to write, you had all the other things going on, would they have gotten done as efficiently?
No, no, I would have totally been like, oh my gosh, where do I begin? How do I start? Can I get this done? I would have totally overthought the entire thing. And it was kind of neat to know that I was just going to have a busy day and it was just going to get done. So the showings, I can't think about anything else. I have showings. So, help this client get through their showings. We actually found a great property for them, wrote an offer, got another offer. And it was just, right now, what do I need to be doing? I can't do it all. So right now, what do I need to be doing? I'm going to allocate this time. But I know that at that time, I have to move on to the next one because they're time sensitive issues, right? So it's just a matter of like, I don't know, a lot has changed in the last year. I think it's just realizing you can only do one thing at a time and you'll get it done and don't stress over it.
My cheeks are hurting. I'm smiling from ear to ear right now. Just, because I get to be there like alongside the growth. I get to see it. And I've told you this, just the two of us, like I get to experience it. I get to see it.
Yeah.
I get to tell you that I can feel it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very cool, very special thing. And I think that, again, a big congratulations to you on that. Much the same. It's empowerment to every single person tuned in right now to say, yes, you can.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
Right? You totally can. Now, what happens when you've allocated, 60 minutes to a project? You know full well it needs more than 60. The 60 comes up and you know full well that it needs more. You just talked about the fact that, it could have been, usually I could keep going, but I know there's other things that are going to be missed. So what is that step that you take? The 60 minutes is up, it's time to move on to the next project. What do you do with the one that you just finished working on in terms of time, but didn't finish working on in terms of project?
And I've hit this many times. So you want to be true to your schedule. However, I look at priority. How important is this one task to finish? If I didn't finish it, is this going to affect me? How is it going to affect me? Number 2, the next thing that I have going on. And, I'd love to tell you that I follow my schedule 100%, but I can't. I can't tell you that. Some things come up and it's just like, you know what? I know I'm not going to get this done today. I know that, but it goes on tomorrow's schedule. Mm-hmm. So somehow, some way, it has to find its way into tomorrow. So it needs to get done. The end of the week, I need to have all this get done. So, I do try and stick to the schedule, but there's rigidity there too, right? Like I do try and stick to it, but then there's the odd time that I think, you know what? I don't have the time. I don't have the extra hour, or I am going to take the extra hour because it's important. And this other item is not as important. I'm going to flip that to tomorrow. So it's priorities, right?
Yeah, look, prioritizing is huge. And there's going to be times, and this is the other thing to say too, right? From a rigidity perspective, doing what we can, putting in our best effort to stick to that schedule, to be rigid to it, to be disciplined to it. That's the best we can do, is to put in our best effort. It doesn't always mean that it's going to work perfectly like clockwork. What it does allow us to do, though, is to notice, what did I accomplish, as well as what still needs to be done. So when am I going to plan that one, as well as what didn't I do, right? And now where am I going to fit that part in? And as long as we're constantly tracking, then at least we have a good hold on what needs to get done, what is getting done, and feeling like we are being productive versus like, I have no idea what I did today. I don't even know if I did anything productive today. I'm frustrated.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because I honestly thought that, well, I'm in my office, so I'm busy.
Yeah.
Like I'm busy here all day long. And then I know we've chatted in the past and you said, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm busy, David, I'm busy. I'm here all day. And sometimes I come back at night because I'm busy. And it's funny when you start looking at what your busy looks like, because sometimes your busy is, I can get a little distracted. So I'm in Canva and I'm like, oh, this is cool. I should do that. Or looking at someone's social going, that's a really neat idea. I should do that. Now, these are all great things to do, but there's some key elements to everybody's job that you need to do first. Mm-hmm. So it's maybe noting that, I can put it on a list or add it to my calendar and say, review this whenever I have time. But is that important right now? Is that really what I should be doing right now? So looking at the busyness of a day a year ago, where I was just, I'm busy, I'm here all the time, like I'm in my office all the time, to now where it's more intentional. It's more, this is what I need to do. And when I'm done, I need to have that balance. I need to have that out of my mind. Don't want to think about it because whatever I need to do has been documented or is in my calendar and it's off the books. I don't need to worry about it right now.
This is again the definition of that whole thing of efficiency and being deliberate with your time.
Mm-hmm.
You brought up social media just a moment ago, and I want to harp on that one. I want to pick on that one for a second because it's so easy for each and every single one of us to go down that rabbit hole, right? Where we're scrolling, we're like, oh, and then you scroll to the next one, you're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, geez,
yeah.
You keep scrolling, and next thing you know, you don't even realize it's been 15 or 20 minutes of your time that you're just scrolling.
Or an hour.
Now all of a sudden you're lost. You're not on track. And this is why, again, I say, and I've said to you, and I say to myself, and I say to everybody I work with, and everybody I even don't know, and everybody right now, everybody tuned in, listen to this one. You've heard it many times. Schedule the social media time. Do not randomly do it because, again, we all get caught in the rabbit hole. I can tell you firsthand, I think I did it yesterday where I started looking at something very briefly, and all of a sudden it was like scroll, and then all of a sudden that conscious thought went, dude, what are you doing? It doesn't say social media in your calendar. And that right there was the trigger for me to stop the action of scrolling social media because that's not what's in the schedule right now. And if I don't want to work till 3 o'clock in the morning, I better get the things done that I need to get done in the time that I allotted to do them. Otherwise, dude, because you decide to scroll social aimlessly at the wrong time of the day, guess what? You now have to work later on in the night. Maybe you don't get time to spend with your kids. Maybe you got to run to sports. And when you come back, you still have to get back to your desk because there's responsibilities.
Yeah.
And that's part of achieving.
Absolutely.
So if you could, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself back, in 2010 or even 2009 before you got in the business? What would be the biggest piece of advice that you'd be giving yourself?
I think from a realtor perspective, if I can just put the realtor hat on, it would be,
of course.
Don't be so concerned with things that don't affect your bottom line. So I don't work just for money. I do enjoy my job. I really, really enjoy being a realtor. I enjoy a lot of pieces of being a realtor, but there's selling pieces and then there's non-selling pieces. So I've recognized the importance of the selling feature and the keeping in touch with clients. Like there's really important parts to my job, the connecting, as opposed to looking at social media and what should I post and some of the other things that really I would consider not priority. And I don't think I knew back then, what is important and what isn't important. And don't spend time where it's not really needed, right? And of course, you have to figure that out. That's not something you know right off the bat. But if you analyze things, you're going to know what's important and what isn't. If you don't, you need to ask somebody. But I think it's pretty apparent. And I think that I spent a lot of time on things that weren't important. Even now, I have to stop myself because, I love doing social. I love doing the reels. I love doing videos. I love doing this. And I know we've had that conversation. Well, do you need to be doing that? Yes. I mean, it's important, but it's not more important than other things. So it's recognizing where they fall.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you about that with the social and the thing, but we'll get there in a moment. First, I want to stay on this topic here with respect to kind of those things that you recognize that need to be done versus maybe want to be done. And then again, some of the business drivers versus maybe some of the other stuff. And I guess that question might come out as, what are some daily non-negotiables for you? Things that no matter what, again, there's things we want to do, but there's things that we need to do to make this business tick. What would you say is on that list?
Daily is, I think that waking up with some kind of gratitude, some kind of mindfulness towards your day.
See how she started that, everybody? It didn't talk about business. It didn't talk about social. It didn't talk about email. Sorry, go on. I got to hit that point home for everybody.
Well, and you know what? This wasn't always the way, obviously. So I'd wake up, coffee in hand or two, and I'd be in my office. Okay, let's start the day. And I've actually really, so this is kind of cool and isn't something that I would have normally done, but even this last summer, I've gone to see a few sunsets with my son, sunrises with my son. Those are the most amazing starts to the day. Takes maybe half an hour by the time you start to finish. And let me tell you, like, your day is already awesome. Like, you haven't even started it and it's like awesome already. Cup of coffee, that's a must for me. Sorry, that is a must.
I'm with you. It's like one of the first things.
Yeah, it's not. That is not negotiable. Not negotiable. And then I think, I think it's just taking a look at the schedule. And usually I do it the day before. What's going on tomorrow? What do I need to know? Where do I need to be? Another thing that I've done as well is twice a week, and it's scheduled gym time. And I was not doing that before. That was part of my goals last year. And I can tell you, I've definitely gone above what I've scheduled for that. And it's not even an option. It's these 2 days at this time. This is when I go. And I've had to struggle with that because there's things that have been going on those days. And I'm like, no, it's gym time. So, and I just go. So I'll just be like, I can't make it that day or whatever. I'm going to have to reschedule. And that's tough because I'd give up that gym day any day. First of all, I wasn't going regularly, which really bothered me.
See,
put it on my goals list for last year. And I'm happy to say I've definitely exceeded that. Again, goals are what you make of them. If they're not that important, I'm going to tell you, you're probably not going to achieve them. That's all I have to tell you. If it's important, you're going to get it done. You're just going to get it done.
And I would back that part up of you're going to get it done as once you've got your structure, right? Because you knew that working out was important. You knew that the sunsets with your son would be important.
Yeah.
Yet for some reason, the habits you had, and again, it's 9 out of 10 people do this exact same thing. Maybe 9.5 out of 10, maybe 10 out of 10 people do the same thing until they start to find that structure.
Yeah.
And it's putting the work ahead of everything. It's prioritizing the dollars. It's prioritizing the income producing activities without thinking about the person that we're looking at in the mirror.
Right.
And that's the person we live with. That's the person that we struggle with. That's the person that we are either happy or sad with. And sort of the same thing about the workouts that you mentioned. I'm just so over the moon that you're going and you've overexceeded what you wanted to do. And I love the fact that, it's a non-negotiable for you that if it's scheduled in there to go to the gym and something work comes up, you're like, no, I'm going to the gym.
Yeah. It's a strange feeling.
but tell me about the paradigm shift there. Like how for you, massive.
Huge, because I think if something came up in the past, I'd be like, oh, no problem. I just won't go to the gym. And now it's like,
what's the result of that though, when you do that?
Well, number one, I don't feel good because as much as I sometimes will wake up and be like, I don't want to go, when I walk out, it is an incredible feeling. Just like at the end of the day, looking back at what you've done, it's an incredible feeling. So by giving it up for whatever, I mean, if something super important came up, I would just put it to the next day. But again, I'd schedule it to the next day. I wouldn't just miss it, right? Because I've committed to doing it so many times a week. So I think it's huge. I've got to get this done because if I don't, then I have to go tomorrow. And tomorrow I've got so much going on too. So
and then we look ourselves in the mirror. What kind of conversation is it in the mirror when we don't get it done?
It's awful. It's awful. And I can tell you most days, I mean, there's some days that I'm doing quite a bit that things do get shuffled into the next day. And I just kind of do the you know what? I did my best. I did my best today. And some of this didn't happen. And it's okay because I know that it's going to happen tomorrow. Right. And that's kind of the chat that I have with myself. I did amazing. So when I look back, because everything's in my calendar or I've crossed it off on my list because I have so much going on, it feels phenomenal to be that mindful of what I need to get done in a day and to be able to say, wow, I got a lot of this done or most of it or all of it. It's an incredible feeling.
Again, I've used the line many times, but it's waking up determined because we have a plan. And then going to bed satisfied because we execute.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Look, and just as you said a few times here, and I'll back that up, right? The plan doesn't always go exactly to plan.
No.
The fact that we have one and we can again identify what got accomplished, the fact that we have one and we can identify what didn't get accomplished, at the end of the day, we're still in full control.
Yeah.
And that's the that's the sigh of relief that most people are looking for in their days.
Yeah. And those projects, they're going to get done. They have to be important and you've got to schedule them and they'll get done. And you will feel, I'm telling you, so incredible when you chunk it down to pieces, you write down what you need to do, and don't wait 3 weeks for the next step. Just my suggestion, because you're going to forget what you did in that hour.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to go back and relearn it. So almost schedule those parts together if you can. And the most incredible feeling is when it gets done. Like incredible. Like you just sit there and go, that wasn't that hard. Why has this been on my list for 2 years? Like this doesn't make sense. But you didn't learn the steps of it's going to take steps to get it done. But it feels incredible. So
this is the again, the old adage of, not trying to eat the elephant in one bite.
Mm-hmm. And I was trying to do that, but many elephants.
And I think that we all do. And again, I will always blame this silly little smartphone device of ours for the distractions and the endless need to be there for people and the endless pit of things to do. We've got access, to information at our fingertips. There's always a drive to want to accomplish more. Again, recognizing there are only 24 hours in a day, and that of those hours, we are going to sleep, we are going to eat, we are going to go to the washroom, we are going to need to rest for a little bit. We've got to plug that in. So for me, and I'll tell you, I've got a block of time in my schedule, after I look over my goals, after I read my book and make our pot of coffee, right? It says kids. And the kids are in there just as importantly as this podcast is in here. It has to get done. Because if I'm not making the time to spend with them, what am I doing all this for?
I couldn't agree more. This is another thing that I've struggled with is I tend to be a bit of a workaholic, and, taking the time out for me, taking the time out for my family is huge. And, I remember talking about scheduling that. And I thought, what? That sounds kind of funny. You want me to schedule personal time? You want me to schedule a family? Like, what? That sounds crazy. But I'll tell you, when I do schedule personal time, and I almost have to remind myself that I need to do that because, again, it's the renew, the refresh. If you're just working and you're not having any fun as a person, then what are we doing? Right? So you have to schedule in things for yourself to just kind of renew yourself, refresh yourself, whether it be a coffee with a friend, spending time with family, however you do that, going out and doing something fun. But you got to do that, definitely. And you know what? If you don't schedule it, sometimes it doesn't happen. Right?
Oh, I say this year over year, and I mean, I'm really good with my time, and I'm very focused on goals. We once again, Jennifer and I, will not hit our goal for date nights in the year. We've done well. It hasn't been non-existent, but it hasn't hit the number that it should. Right. And that's on me. That's on her. I'd say it's more on me, just because, again, how rigid I am with all this stuff. It is what it is. That's not an excuse, and it's not a throw the white flag up. I've got to be better at that. Right. And again, I say that, and anybody could argue, but the clients, but the this, but that. Again, I ask you, why are you doing it? Mm-hmm. And if we lose sight of that, then that conversation in the mirror will always be a negative one. And no matter what we tell the world in front of us, or what we look like on a video or on a podcast or whatever, inside this brain, we know we're not going to be feeling at the 10 out of 10 that we want to be.
Yeah, I do agree. I totally agree with you. I think that you have to put aside time for yourself, your family, all the things that are important to you as a person, because work isn't everything. I love dealing with my clients and calling them and talking to them and connecting and all that and doing the sales portion of my job. That's, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, it's the connections that matter, whether it be family, clients, friends, whatever. It's the connections that really matter.
So speaking of the end of the day, if I said, typical day in the life of, so we talked about some of the non-negotiables. And what was really awesome about the non-negotiables, and I want to rewind on that for a quick moment, because what I picked up on it was time with your family,
Mm-hmm.
time for yourself. Those are the big things I just picked up on when you said it. And again, that is, to me, it's an awesome paradigm shift. Some people are probably saying, yeah, but what about work? Well, no, we didn't say we're not doing it, but this is where I will now come back and say to you, so a day in the life of, we get up, we kind of center ourselves, we do some gratitude, coffee, possibly spend time with the family, be it at a sunrise or just hanging out talking. What kind of income producing activities are you focused on that are non-negotiables in a day that just need to be present within your day at some point through that flow of whatever the day looks like?
That's a good question. So I have a CRM, and anybody that comes up, so it essentially, it's a smart CRM. It tells me who I should be calling. It's been scheduled already. So any new leads coming in, I'm going to be either calling, emailing. I also do video messages as well. So that is always part of my morning. That is scheduled. I believe it's 9:30 to 11. If it's too early, I'll do video messages because I really don't want to be. If you ever called somebody who's not quite awake yet, you feel pretty bad. So I try to do the video stuff in the morning, like before 10. And then from 10 to about 11:30, I'm making calls. And I do that pretty much 4 days out of the week. And it's just connecting. It's just talking to people. And I find that when you're just calling because you care and you want to find out how the kids are doing, or if somebody wasn't well, or just catching up on life, it means a lot to people. It's not necessarily a sales call. It's just, I care. I care about what's going on in your world. And that's part of my day. So reaching out to people, follow-ups, somebody's asked for information, dealing with listings, dealing with buyers, that all falls within that realm of, work, and it's scheduled in.
Are you trying to tackle your entire database in a day, or is this more? Okay.
No. So I have a list of people that I would say I have a good relationship with. I try and call them more often. There's some people that I don't connect with, say once a quarter, and it might just be a quick voicemail saying, hello, it's Lily, just, calling to catch up and see how you're doing. They may call back. Doesn't matter. I think at this point, it's just, they know that I've called and reached out. It's connecting, again, touching people, right? Connecting with people on a regular basis. And that's part of my day. So that is, to me, the non-negotiable, important part of my day as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned about, we've been talking about, achieving goals and, again, efficiency with time and deliberate. Mm-hmm. We're into that time of the year right now. Business planning. You had one way, I guess, you used to do it. You've got obviously a different way that you do it now, just based on the work that's been done. When do you typically start getting into the idea of business planning? And have you got any advice or action steps that you can share with everybody tuned in to kind of go, if they haven't got the direction, what could they do to help themselves with that part of the process?
Personally, financially, what are you both? What are you thinking?
Say it again. Oh, you say like I'd say in general, like it's time to just do business planning. It's time to start planning for next year. I mean, you and I both know that whole idea of business planning to me is more about life planning. It's more about like, what does the next year look like for me from both a personal and a business perspective? Because again, I'll come back to, that pendulum of work-life balance is huge. Yeah. And if we overload the work side of things, you know what I mean? Like we lose the balance on the life side, and therefore we don't achieve. And again, that's the stuff that makes us feel bad, makes us feel sad. Whereas if the personal side is like way too heavy, and quite frankly, we're partying every day and always going on vacations, we're not focused on making any money. Again, in the society we live in, dollars are going to be important to be able to make sure that we can have that fun. So there's got to be a balance. So I lump them both together.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that you have to look, for me, business planning is always, first you start at let's just call it the last year. What were your goals coming into this year? Did you hit them? Are you going to hit them? Were they important? Are they important enough to bring forward? And this could be business or personal. Mm-hmm. You have to look at what is important, because what's important to me may not be important to somebody else. Right. So you really have to almost dig deep and find out what is important to you? Is it a dollar amount? This is a crazy market we're in right now. So, if you're putting high numbers in there, absolutely do what you need to do. But, take into account the market, take into account how you're going to do that. Drill down on what your daily needs to look like to achieve that dollar amount. Look at your expenses. There's a lot of things out there in the world where you can download something if you don't have something, but business planning, financial, looking at your top dollar, drilling down the expenses, and seeing what you truly need. Now's a good time to be looking at your expenses and saying, do I need this? Did I actually use it? There's a good question. Did I actually use it all year? Because it's
there's the measuring stick right there.
And I'm paying for it, but do we actually need it? Like, is it something that I'm actually, because it sounds great, it looks useful, doesn't mean you have to pay for it. So it's really just, taking a look at what you're spending your money on. And I think personally, I think it's tough. Like, I think when you're really busy in life, it's tough to figure out, is reading a book a month going to make a difference to me? Is working out at the gym 3 times going to do something? Is CrossFit, promising to do a CrossFit session every whatever, is like, what is it for you? Is it joining something? Like, I think you have to kind of dig deep to what you want. Because again, when you're busy, you're not always presented with all these ideas. You might have to actually sit down and think, what is important to me? For me, it was the gym. It was, I need to move because a lot of days, if I don't have appointments, I'm sitting at my desk, I'm sitting here, and I'm not moving as much as I should be. So it was a very conscious decision to, no, I need to be more active at least a few days a week. So that's how I came down to that. Reading, I love reading. Absolutely love reading, even more so podcasts. So
the way that I
get. Absolutely. Good plug. And I missed that. Glad you caught it. Love podcasts. So you learn so much in such a short period of time that if you don't have the time to sit with a book, or you're not inclined to do that because you think you have a million other things, figure out how to do it and put in some goals. So the key thing is to put in, again, into your calendar, if it's something that's really important, like especially on a personal side, Friday at 2 p.m. or whatever, put in, going to the gym or going shopping or whatever it is that you need on a personal basis, going to spend time with a friend, get all this stuff into your calendar. I think that's key is, so the gym is in my calendar. I go these days, I go these times. It's, this is what I need to do. And I think once you figure out your income, your expenses, taking into consideration, it is a bit of a crazy market. I think you just need to figure out how to do it and reach out to people if you're not quite sure. If you're a newer agent, this is a great time to maybe seek out people that, have been through this market before and find out what you might need to do or new things you can do. As far as personal, you got to dig deep, figure out what it is for you and determine, is it something you're going to do twice a week, once a month, and write down your goals when they're in front of you. If you don't do gym time twice a week, like you said, I'm telling you, you're not going to feel great. It's not a great feeling when you're not attaining your goals because these are goals that you've put forward. No one else has, you have.
Yeah, and an action step to that for again, everybody right now is as we look and say, well, what is important to me? And I'm not really sure, and I don't really know what I want. And I don't know if I have the time to read those books. A suggestion that I've got is look yourself in the mirror. Start tracking the subconscious conversation that you have with yourself. The disappointment, maybe the elation. Start tracking that conversation right there, and that's going to tell you a lot about what's actually important to you. What's bringing you down? What's lifting you up? Mm-hmm. What are some of your deepest desires? What are some of those objections or those obstacles that you don't think you can actually surpass, surmount, or achieve? Start writing it down, and don't just think about it. Write it down, because if you just think about it, it's a fleeting thought. It hasn't come to life. The minute it comes on paper, guess what? You can see it. You can pin it up. You could take a picture of it and share it with the world. And you may not want to do that. In fact, you might get to a point where you go, oh my God, holy shit, I can't let anybody see that. Cool. Guess what? That's the thing. That's what it is. And again, I've been very transparent about this. For me, working out, I'm in my groove now. And I'll tell you, I pulled out my back last Friday playing hockey. I did something, I don't know what happened. And I've been out of the gym for the past 4 or 5 days. I am like cringing inside, right? Because I am so addicted to the gym now. It's like, it's killing me that I can't go. No, it's the biggest problem in life. You. It's not even close to the biggest problem in life. Let's just put that out there. But I will say, like, it's killing me that I can't go. So to what you just said about, scheduling a walk or doing something. Hey, like literally before we started this podcast, I actually went out for a walk just to get moving because I've been more sedimentary. Like I've been just sitting around more than I normally do because I'm a pretty active person.
And how'd you feel?
I'll tell you this. Hey, I feel incredible.
How'd you feel? Right?
Right.
And it was probably half an hour.
Right. And it was a 20-minute walk, and then it came in and did like 100 push-ups.
Right.
Okay. And then some pull-ups. And I'm getting there. My back is getting there. It's just not ready for the amount of work that I put it through when I go to the gym because I go hard. Okay. Now, what I was saying about transparent though is, I don't know, a year and a half ago, whatever it was, and before that, in fact, for months and years before that, I'd have that conversation in the mirror. I want to feel better. I'm not happy with the way my clothes are fitting. I am not feeling my best version of me. I got to change something. I got to do something. And most of us know that we need to do that. It's just a matter of actually doing it. And this comes back to what we've been talking about, today on this episode is very much being deliberate and efficient with your time. Looking and saying, what else can I do? What is it that I want to do? So that's where, again, I say, think about the conversation you have with yourself. Think about the look that you give yourself in that mirror. Then take that thing, write it down. And that becomes one of those goals that we should all be working towards, or you should be working towards for your 2024. And that's a general statement to everybody that's tuned in right now.
Well said.
Right. Look, there's a lot, there's so much to cover off when it comes to, a day in the life of and a year in the life of. You also mentioned things about, if it's not working, acknowledge that, or maybe if you're spending money on it. I want to shift kind of part of this to just because, I love building Mindshare. When we talk about marketing, what do you find, because you do a lot of video, you're not scared to get on video, you do your social media, you're not scared to get on social media. And I think that is amazing. And I want to encourage everybody to get over their fears. What is it that got you past the fear of putting yourself out there and just like hitting like share or post or whatever?
So that's a great question. Sort of like how I'm still on this podcast, even though I was a little bit scared about it.
I told you.
Kind of like that. So a few years back, people were talking about video. You have to be on video. If you're a realtor, you're going to miss out. You got to be on video. And I thought, every time I took a video or a picture, I'd be like, oh, I can't post that. I can't do this. And I actually had a really good friend who was a realtor as well. Unfortunately, he's passed right now, but he just said to me, just post it, just do it. What's the worst that can happen? People like the authenticity of the real. They're not looking for the fake you. They're not looking for the fake you. They're looking for who you are. And that's what they're going to resonate to. They're either going to resonate with you or they're not. And that's okay. Not everyone's going to like you. But he challenged me and he just said, just put it out there. I had done a video on a house. It was a fixer-upper. And I'm like, I can't post that. I sent it to him. I can't post that. And he's like, are you kidding? He said, this is fantastic. I don't think so. He said, just post it. And I did. And I realized, what is the worst that can happen? People see who you are, what you are. You're getting out there. I don't know how many people actually say to me, that last video was great. Or, oh, I saw your post. And I'm thinking, you guys are paying attention to that. That's great. Really, that's great. Like I schedule a lot of posts. So when they tell me, that last post was great, I'm like, oh, thank you. And I'm thinking, I don't because I schedule sometimes in advance, I don't know what posts they're talking about, but they're seen. And so you just got to get over your fear. You just got to do it. It's really that simple. Just do it. People want to see who you really are and not the fake you, not the dolled up you. I love when I see people in their element and not like just them, just real them, like not all made up or not. Do you know what I mean? Like the authenticity of people, or if they're sharing a vulnerable moment, I love that. It shows that they're human, right?
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
How many people have hated on you, attacked you, poked fun at you for those videos?
I had one hater.
One.
I wouldn't say hater. He just made some, you're always, I think you're always, and someone said this to me, if you haven't had your first hate comment, you're not really out there. So I did. And I was like, oh, this feels awful. And, you could just tell he was trolling around and just wanted to get, say silly things, whatever. So I blocked and deleted it. And I thought, I'm not going to let that stop me. That's one person. I don't even know who this is.
I was about to say, did you know the person?
No, maybe he's having a bad day. Right. Maybe this is what he does. This is what he does for fun. I don't know. But I thought, you know what? If you don't like me, that's cool. Like, unfollow and subscribe, which is totally different than me saying follow and subscribe. But I'm just going to be me. And if, you like it and you resonate with it, that's fantastic. Connect.
How many videos have you made?
Oh, quite a few.
So like not just one.
No.
Oh, no, okay. So this whole thing of fear, and when I ask about how many haters or naysayers or what, one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it that scary?
No.
And I'll tell you, for me, I embrace it. Because just to what you said, it's like, yeah, people are seeing me. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, the keyboard ninjas, those warriors, those tough guys, leave them alone, let them be. It may irk you for a moment. It may even get deeper inside and you're like, oh, let it be. You don't need to be, you don't need to battle them. You don't need to combat them. You don't need to go back and say anything to them. Let them be. They're just moving along. And they're just trolling people. They are bored human beings and there's nothing else to do.
Exactly. So I'm not going to stop doing what I do because of one person. It's what it is.
Good on you. Good. So it's not that scary.
No.
Put ourselves out there.
The scariest thing was doing, like, putting out that first one was like, and I almost like, you send it and you're like, oh, like, is there an undo? Is there a rewind? Like, how do I? And then I just thought, whatever. What's the worst that could happen? Like, someone could just say that was awful. No one did. I got likes. I got, oh, this is cool, neat property. It was a fixer upper. So I showed up on the video and I did this one on my own. I showed up with a hammer and a tape measure and I said, hey, if you're really handy, this might be for you. It's looking for a little love. And, went into the rooms and I thought, oh, this is terrible. And, this friend of mine said, oh my gosh, this is so creative. Go do it. It's cool. So I did and haven't looked back.
It's interesting. This reminds me of a conversation we had about email, but we're not going to get into that today. You and I know what's going on. But tell me this, seriously speaking, to anybody that believes, they want to achieve perfection. Tell me about that. Is it possible?
That's me. That's me. And that will stop you from moving forward. So done is better than perfect. Is all I can say. I'm a bit of a control freak. And yes, I want, but I'm not going to do it because it has to be this and it has to show this and this is wrong. This isn't right. Well, you know what? Projects will take 3 years and they won't be done. So again, do what you need to do. It's not going to be perfect. It's okay. Just get it done to the best of your ability and send it.
Schedule accordingly and just make it happen, eh?
Yeah. Yep.
So you had brought this up off the top of the show of working together, and I don't want to. I'm not going to go into details of what brought you to the point of calling us, let's say, but more in a general sense of this idea of, and I bring this up in a few aspects. One of them being, again, we are getting to the end of the year. There's a lot of people searching for solutions. There's a lot of people going, how do I make next year a better year for me? You came to at some point that said, I want to get, do we call it the word help? Do we call it, seek out somebody to work with? Like, however we look at that, but you decided to sort of embark on this thing of coaching. I don't want to ask you what was it you were looking for, because that's, no offense to everybody tuned in, but that's not your business. That's Lily's business. What kind of got you to that point though, where you went, I know that there's something I want to do. I am finally going to take the step and do. Do you see? I'm looking for that thought because I think a lot of people go through this where we all search for something. We all search for more help somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes we're scared to bring our guard down. We're scared to open up and say, I need help. We're scared to seek advice. We don't trust the fact that this advice or whatever it is going to be helpful. What was it that like brought you to that point?
I think I knew I was at a point where I wanted to go to a different level. And I honestly thought, you know what? I kind of know where I want to go, but I might not know what bridge to take there. And you were the bridge. Like you were someone that I had looked up to. I've been watching your videos for quite a while. You show up in my inbox, so I do look at it. And I just resonated with your just do it, just get it done. Like, don't look back. Just, that's what I needed. I don't think I needed anybody to sugarcoat anything because, again, I have a backpack full of 500 excuses ready to go at any time. And I didn't want to say an excuse and be like, well, that's okay. We'll work on this next time. I wanted someone to say, why didn't that get done? You said this was going to get done. Why didn't it get done? I needed some accountability. And that's what I've gotten from you. And I can't tell you that I really love what you say to me all the time.
It's working.
Sorry. I really can't tell you that I love, some of the things that you're like, okay, this is what I need you to do. And I'm thinking, I'm listening and I'm glad you don't see me because in our calls, you actually don't see me because you would just kind of see the like,
yep.
All right. And you're like, you got it? It's like, mm-hmm. Because I'm not liking what I hear. But, doing some of the things that you've asked me to do has brought me through that bridge. And that's what I needed, right? I needed you to kind of show me this is the bridge you want to go to. This is the path. This is what you need to do to cross the bridge. And that's kind of what I was looking for, some direction and accountability.
And so would you say that you feel that there is some good accountability here? I mean, do you find that
yes.
The phone from call to call, have we got action steps? Is there accountability? What about the text messages? Like, do you feel that there's good?
Yeah, you're always checking up. And again, I see the text and I'm like, oh boy, he didn't forget. So
we talk about accountability, right? It's like somebody's got to get you doing it.
No, but I'm busy. No, it's nice to get those texts in between because I know that, you're paying attention to what I need and that's the accountability I need. So even if I've put it to the side for the moment, because I've already scheduled, like I know when your next call is, so I know what I need to do for the next call because it's in my calendar, but you're hitting me at a time where I haven't done it yet. And I'm going, oh yeah, I got to get that done. But again, I let it go because it's in my calendar so that before we talk, all that stuff that I need to get done is going to get done. So yeah, it does help for sure.
What would you say to anybody who's on the fence about starting coaching?
I'd say give it a try. Like it doesn't hurt to try. We're heading into a market that, we're not heading in. We're in a market that's really going to be trying. And, I know coaching is an expense. We just talked about expenses, but I don't think it hurts to even sign up for a few months and just kind of see how it goes. And it makes a difference because having somebody objectively look at your business and and give you ideas on what you can do differently or better to level you up is invaluable. It's invaluable. In this market, I really think you need to know, things to say, what to do, how to be consistent, how to schedule your time. And those all things equate to being a better realtor.
So what would you say to anybody then if they're thinking, okay, I hear what you're saying. Like what's the experience like working together then?
Well, it's not like this because we're not on video. So you could be wearing your pajamas. David doesn't care. But it's just a call and we chat for an hour. We talk about, you've got some agenda items that, I think you want to just progress with. And then anything that has come up in the last, since we last chatted that I might want to bring up and say, hey, this has come up, not sure how to deal with this. We'll talk about it for a while and then get back into some of the other items that we need to cover.
Do you feel like we're just checking boxes, or do you feel like we're brainstorming?
No, we're brainstorming.
Okay.
You're giving me ideas, you're asking me questions that, again, is invaluable because, we're independent contractors. So I'm a solo agent. I don't have, 3 people that that are beside me that I'm, collaborating with. So it is really quite helpful.
Really happy to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Really happy to hear that. And I would say, and I know I've said this a few times already today on today's show, I can see it. I can feel it. I can sense it. There's been a major, major shift in the way you operate. And one thing that you and I have both talked about, and this I think is an important one as well, is that this is not a my way or the highway.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've had that one too, where it's like, are we doing this? Well, I like to do it like this. Okay, great. Let's work on it that way then, and start to do it in a way that works for you, finding that rhythm, finding that flow, and I think that's a cool one because we have found that you have found that, and we're obviously it's a work in progress and we continue to evolve, but it's a very cool thing to just see it. So big congratulations to you on that. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you for your help.
Well, I'm grateful to be able to have the opportunity. So the day's over. It's all said and done. It's all said and done. And you're laying your head down. But one of the last questions we like to ask here is how do you know that it's been a successful day for you?
When I can look back and I know what was on my list for the day, and I know that I've killed it. I've had some great time with family. I've taken a few moments to myself, made the time. That's the important thing. Made the time for myself. I have a sense of peace with my day. That's the best way I can describe it. A sense of peace.
Still didn't include money. 256 episodes deep, everybody. Listen up, listen up. Don't put dollars and cents at the top of your goals list. You heard it loud and clear here. Lily, give us some final words. Anything that you'd share to everybody here today just to get out there, build some more mind share so you could get some more market share. Just some final words of wisdom.
Be yourself. Anything is possible. Schedule your time, your projects, and send it.
Let's go. Love it. Lily, thank you for being a guest on the Mindshare podcast today. Some awesome insights as we talked about achieving goals, how to be more efficient and deliberate with your time. And I think that a lot of what you shared today is going to be super, super helpful for everybody that's tuned in. So I can't thank you enough for making the time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're either listening to some one of your favorite podcast platforms, or maybe you went to my website, mindshare101.com. And while you're there, be sure to download your free copy of The Ultimate Marketing Bundle, our 31-page ebook, including your free 90-day social media content calendar to help you build more mind share so that you get more market share. A reminder as well that if you want to talk about personalized one-to-one coaching, an in-person keynote talk for your upcoming event, and or ongoing virtual training, just get in touch with me. We'll set up a consultation call, learn more about what you're looking to achieve, and how we will help you do just that. For all inquiries, just get in touch with us today. And don't forget to leave a review of this podcast at www.ratethispodcast.com/mindshare101. Of course, connect with me on Facebook at Mindshare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan101. I want to thank Kids Keep in Touch Systems and REM Magazine for sponsoring the Mindshare podcast. Be sure to visit our site to learn more about what these powerful companies will do to help you grow your business. This has been another episode of the Mindshare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.